Billy Corgan. Good afternoon, sir. How are you? How was your drink?
It's steamy up here in the province, you know?
Yeah. Well, now the two of us are sitting here.
And are we in some kind of prison camp or something? What is this place?
They really put you away back here, a fortress at the very least.
Yeah.
I'm sure it has some significance.
I went to the Montreal Archaeological Museum yesterday, the one that goes like into the sewer and all that. So I was interested.
What do the sewers in Montreal got?
Well, you actually have the oldest sewer in Canada is in Montreal. It still exists, and you can go through it if you go to the Montreal Archaeological Museum.
Okay, well maybe that's what we'll do tomorrow, because today we got to
Yes.
see the Smashing Pumpkins.
It's kind of a weird thing to be wading through something so historical and be thinking like this is where all the dead bodies and shit used to flow, you know?
Probably
But,
still do.
But they made a big deal of it, so I felt I had to respect it.
Aori Mory May, said it right?
I think so.
The Latin? Is that what it is, Latin?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. So we're going to see what
It's a bit of onomatopoeia and a bit of made-up language.
It's the 13th Smashing Pumpkins record is what it is.
I'm not sure. You know, people keep saying that, but I think we count other records as our records too. So I don't know. I think that might be number 14.
Okay.
Like I think when people say that they don't count Pisces Iscariot, which was our sort of B-sides record, so it felt like a record to us.
Okay. Well, it's out there now, and it came
Yeah.
out with sort of an urgency. It felt like it was just sort of, hey, by the way, August 2nd, you're getting a new Pumpkins record.
Well, we had the normal plan of doing the single and you know all that stuff, typical build up to the release and all this, and I wasn't feeling it. And we have a great manager, and I just called him and said, let's forget all this. And he says, well, what do you want to do? I said, let's just put the record out. And I said, when's the Green Day tour start? And he said, oh, you know, whatever was the date. And then they came back and said, well, we can release it at this date because it's something else. I said, let's just do it. And, you know, we put the album for pre-sale at my tea house's site, madamzeus's.com. We're almost totally sold out of that edition, which is a different edition. It has 2 extra songs on a 7-inch that comes with the package. And people get the record in November. But, you know, I think we live in this, you know, you're holding a phone, right? You know, I have phones in my pocket. The idea of having to wait for music just seems so weird.
Yeah.
And by the way, you know, we went through this on the last album. We had a hacker try to, whatever, release 9 songs early. And had a hacker a bunch of money, and the FBI got involved. And so, you know, I lived there for months, like, you know, with my nails digging in porcelain. Thinking, like, that's all I need is somebody to leak this out early to
Right.
mess up all these plans. I just sick of all of it. I'm not sick of the music business. I'm sick of the way the music business thinks about art. You know what I mean?
Yeah. When the painting's done, when people see the painting.
I think we need to get back to, and I'm proselytizing a bit, but I think we just need to get back to a place where it's like, if a band puts out a great record, great. And if a band puts out a pretty good record, fine. And then okay, it's like, just get back to putting out music. This whole old notion of the 90s, like, you know, this big build up and then everybody, and here's the video, and oh my God, and then 2 years goes by. It's like, that's a million years these days.
Yeah.
Think of what's happened in just in America in the last 3 weeks on the political, social scene.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a lifetime of information. So thank God the record just came out. Because even like when we talked about putting out the record, you know, we were talking about the record a year ago and when we were going to put it out, there was a lot of concern behind the scenes about the U.S. election getting in the way of the release, as you can imagine.
Right.
And I said, I just don't care. Who cares? There's a lot of people who don't give a shit about any of that.
Just want some new music.
Well, I think people are living and dying every day, you know. They don't get to decide on you know, their whole life is about somebody else's timetable. When's the NFL season start and all this stuff? I mean, for me personally, that's not freedom. Just get off all of that.
I love that. When it comes to actually writing the record, the first 2 tracks on the album are nearly 7 minutes long, and then it sort of settles down into like 3 minutes instead. As an actual songwriter, is that something you go into thinking, I want to write something that breathes, it takes a little more time, or does it just kind of start and you know it's over when it's over?
It just kind of happens. We used to do a lot of long songs. We liked doing that, and then at some point we just kind of got off it. I don't remember why. It was all the breakups and makeups and all that stuff. So I don't know. It's just I don't know. It's I know that we're having an interview, right? So I'm reaching for poor analogies, but you know, when you fall in love with somebody, you know, the love tells you which way to go, and that's kind of how music is. It's like some riffs are like, this is in a movie in itself, and let it breathe, let it go. Don't be in such a rush to get to the verse and all that stuff. Other songs, they feel like pop songs. It's like, give it to me quick and fast, you know.
Those riffs are kicking ass on this record.
Yeah, I mean, you know, some nights you make love and some nights you have a quickie, you know. It's all good. It's that's what I mean. It's like, I guess what I'm trying to say in so many words is like, I want to get back to an organic place with music. You know, for 15, 20 years of my life, through various iterations of the band, all I ever heard was about Siamese dream this, and you should have done that, and why'd you do this? And at some point, it's like, you just got to get out of the shadow of all these things and just go on with your life. And what's so interesting is maybe we've lived long enough and survived long enough that the young generation doesn't seem to care about any of that. They're cool if you play a song from then and a song from now. As long as it moves them, they don't care when it's from. My generation was pretty hung up on greatest hits. That's pretty obvious.
And genres too. It was very much like, oh, I'm a punk rock kid, or I'm an alternative kid, or whatever. And it wasn't. You weren't allowed to like other stuff. And now it seems like.
Well, what's amazing about that is we're often held to old standards, but a young band in our same position is sort of lauded for not holding to the standard,
right.
Which is really weird. It's like somehow we don't get to play in the new sandbox. We're supposed to play in the old musty. So, you know, I think you know enough about us to know that we don't really care about that stuff. But we do live in the world. You know, we do have to deal with the suits in LA. We do have to deal with people, you know, who think they know what the record business is. When, meanwhile, it's completely diminished from what it once was in terms of its cultural relevance and its terms of its ability to move money. In fact, the parent company of the Pumpkins' old catalog, Universal, they just got creamed in the stock market. You know? And those are all forces beyond our control. All I know is that, you know, the three guys on stage started, you know, literally in my dad's house, which was a drug den, in 1988. You know, with my dad charging us for electricity because he was so broke from selling drugs. I mean, so that band's, even everything we've done, whether we're playing the Rogers, 50,000 people, or, you know, playing in a basement somewhere, like, we retain the memory of what it's like just to get in a room and play music and look at each other and go, we got something of value. And if you trust that, that's all you really.
Was that the original goal of the band? Like, when you start a band, you can't imagine you're going to sell a billion records and tour everywhere around them. Like, what was the first level that you felt like, hey, if we do that, then we've done something?
Right. Well, I remember going to see, there's a place in Chicago called Aragon Ballroom, which held 4,500 people. And I remember seeing Echo and the Bunnymen around 1984, 1885. So, like, if you were big, like, that's where The Cure played or something. Like, that's if you were really big. If you were, like, indie big, like Dinosaur Jr. or Jane's Addiction, you played the Metro in Chicago, which held 1,000 people. We thought we were going to be one of those bands that could play 1,000.
Sure. And that would be,
like,
hey,
for example, Doolittle by the Pixies is one of the classic records. It's the record that very much inspired Never by Nirvana. When that record was, like, the hottest record in alt music in 88 or whatever was the year, I mean, they played the Metro with Happy Mondays opening. Imagine the Pixies in their absolute prime playing through 1,000 people in the club with the Happy Mondays opening.
Insane.
That was the bill. So I'm saying for us that was like, wow, if we could get to there, that's the goal. Because we never thought we could be a band that played Madison Square Garden. You know, I mean, we played the old Maple Leaf Garden. I mean, I remember standing there looking at all those flags. You know what I mean?
Those flags are still the only ones we have.
And I think we played. I think the old Montreal building's on too, right?
The Forum, yeah.
Yeah, we played that too. You know what I mean? I mean, you know, I love history, so I mean, you know, we never thought we'd play those buildings. I mean, how would, with my weird voice and our 19-minute songs, you know, if you were in the Ramones or Iggy Pop, those, you know, you played those places. You didn't play the arena.
But the connection that you created with an audience over, I mean, multiple generations now, it's gotta make you feel good about yourself when you can sing a song about something that's deep within you that other people relate to and sing back to you and mirror it.
Yeah, I mean, you can imagine what it would be like to be successful because if you're a fan of, I don't know, Led Zeppelin or Rush or something, you're aware of the passage of time and your fans arguing over what's the better album and all those types of things. And so you can guess forward that there will come a time that people will argue over your music. But until you actually go through it and watch the generations pass and watch dads bring their kids and watch a fan who completely gives up on you in the middle of their life, which usually means they gave up on themselves, come back around and almost apologize.
Sure.
You know, almost be like, man, I really gave up on you guys, but I shouldn't have, and now I'm back. And until you live that, it's a wild journey.
I couldn't even, I didn't even process that one. That's wild. Do you give a shit about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame at all? That may be a loaded question. Maybe
it is, and I've just given up answering it because every time I answer it, I end up with a headline, and it always makes me sound like I'm super bitter, and I'm not.
No. Yeah, fair enough. That must be exhausting sometimes too. You can do a million interviews and just try to see the headlines.
Well, for whatever reason, and it's funny because, I own a tea house, I got 2 small kids, I'm happily married, I haven't done drugs for 20-something years. Obviously, the band's very successful and plays all the time. I've put out, over 100 songs in the last 5 years, but I'm still really good negative copy.
Right.
So I can tell you I saved 50 kittens and I ran into a burning building and, saved the vaccine that's going to save the world and all this stuff. Nobody would give a shit. But if I say something stupid or I say something inartfully, like recently I gave an interview and somebody asked me about playing old songs, and I said, well, it's pretty simple. If I don't feel like playing an old song, I just don't play it. I don't want to be inauthentic on stage. Somehow that turned into I don't want to play my old songs.
Right. And tickets are more expensive than ever, and he's not going to play the hits.
And it ended up in People magazine, it ended up in guitar magazines, all painting me as this curmudgeon who doesn't want to play his old songs. So my social media person came to us, who's actually Canadian from Toronto, and she said, what do you want to do about this a week after? Because the story was still going. And I said, let's start making fun of it. So we just started posting our set lists, and we started going, yeah, it's a shame I don't play all those old songs, and it killed it immediately. Yeah. Because people were like, what are you talking about? They're playing like 9, 10 hits. So that's, we live in this wacky world where people believe stuff, and you can show them a piece of paper, and they're like, what I'm saying is, for whatever reason, they like the Darth Vader, evil Simpsons version of me way better than they like the dad with the bad jokes or something. I'm cool with that. I don't care. It doesn't do anything for me. I feel like our fans really, they're along for the ride and the joke, and they get it. Yeah. As I always say, I wear a dress on stage. And I started wearing a dress on stage in '92. It's not a recent phenomenon. It's all good, man. We're so lucky. We're so lucky. The way we messed up our band so many times, the fact that me, James, and Jimmy are together after 36-something years. People have seen us for 30 years come and see us play, and they go, man, you guys sound better than you sounded back in the day. This is unbelievable what you guys doing. We're just happy. We feel good. We got a great band. Jack, of course, his father is a hooky from Joy Division in New Order. I met Jack when he was literally 2 years old. I've known his dad since 1990. Jack's in the band, playing bass now for 7, 8 years. Kiki, we found through this crazy audition process of 10,000 people. And I was a fan of Kiki's because I follow her on Instagram. So I was like, she's an amazing person. She's got a 1-year-old baby. I got kids. Jimmy's got a kid. James got a kid. Kiki got a kid. It's a great time to be in the band. So if people want to turn it into like a weird shit show, we just don't care. It's actually kind of funny that we're even worth something that way. You know what I mean? Eventually, we're pretty confident the music part of it all. We feel we are a dominant band. We have been a dominant band, and the numbers don't lie. And as young generations are finding our music through streaming services, not because some guy pitchfork said it's the greatest thing ever, and eat your broccoli to it. You can see the Pumpkins are on the rise because it's an organic phenomenon. It's nothing to do with what anybody thinks it has to do with what people feel. And that's why, if anybody's ever seen the Rush documentary, yes, what's the point I make in the Rush documentary? I would see them ignored in Rolling Stone. You'd never see them featured, and then you go to the arena and it's packed with guys singing every word, people crying as Neil's playing drum fills. And I'm a Rush fan from back in the day, so I know what that means. And I would always say, like, how do you end up with this difference? Now Rush is completely beloved. Absolutely. Like, they finally got the due, and unfortunately Neil's not here to enjoy it with Geddy and Alex. But the point is they fucking earned it. And they didn't earn it because they were a great live band. They are a great live band. They earned it because people loved them. They loved them, and they made music that people fell in love to and grew up in. And as I talked about in the movie, that was one of the first times I was even able to communicate my feelings as a teen, was through Neil's great lyrics. So fuck what anybody thinks, man. I'll go down with Rush every day. And so, extrapolating the idea, we know that's how some people, not everybody, we know how that's some people feel about us. So as long as we have that, we're cool. Anybody else can do whatever.
With all the stuff happening, like, the other promotions seem to be sort of crossing over, so do you see more of that kind of thing happening for the NWA in the future, being able to work with other promotions and get in the mix?
Yeah, it's frustrating because, when I first bought the NWA, obviously I'd worked at TNA before. and you think you got this historic brand, there would be more crossover opportunities. And they didn't come as much as I would have liked. We did some stuff. And then ultimately you realize it's very much what people figure out as promoters along the way. You just got to worry about yourself. And if you gain enough strength and gain enough momentum, then people start calling. And now we're in a position where people are calling. So yeah, I think you'll see more stuff. But at the end of the day, just like with the band, you have to make fans for what you do.
Yes.
And
I think you're on the perfect track with that. Because NWA definitely feels like it has momentum.
it does. And it's funny because a lot of people kind of have mocked, let's call it the old school approach. Right? That's like saying AC/DC's old school. I just saw AC/DC play 60,000 people in a stadium, whatever the hell it was, man. Hanover, Germany.
Yeah.
Okay, they rocked, and Angus is what, 70-something years old, right?
Still in the uniform.
Okay.
Still wearing the gimmick.
If it works, it works. And some of the greatest compliments I've gotten, whether it's somebody like Bret Hart saying stuff behind the scenes to pass on messages to me, stuff like that. When people in the business who drew a lot of money tell me or tell other people to let me know you guys are going the right way, because at the end of the day, this business of wrestling is about drawing money. You get a lot of hype, you get a lot of hashtags, you get a lot of viral clips, but you see that there still is that difference, and it's very similar, and I tell wrestlers this all the time. A lot of indie bands get a lot of press, could sell a ticket to save their life. Okay, there's a reason Green Day's a huge band, there's a reason Pearl Jam's a big band, Pumpkin's a big band, because we can sell tickets. Variety of opinions on the bands, right? But at the end of the day, the ability to draw people into a building. And wrestling is always at its best when it draws. The snobby guy is always going to be like, well, I really want 7 5-star matches a show. I think wrestling is best when it's like the circus.
Yes.
You got a little bit of everything, so that if it's a kid 8 years old, you know what I mean? My son's favorite wrestler is Gags the Gimp, who is basically a Gimp character. That's my son's favorite wrestler. So that's his identity. He knows EC3, but he's a fan of the Gimp, right? So to the 8-year-old, you have to have something, and the grandma, you got to have something. So, unfortunately, just like indie music, the business is run by smart marks. But at the end of the day, again, it's got to be people who can bring people to the building.
I can't believe Billy Corgan just had smart marks in front of me. Oh, we're going to be best friends. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, my friend.